Ford makes trucks. I know that's not a surprise, but the Ford F-150 has been one of the best-selling vehicles pretty much forever. It single-handedly makes Ford financially successful, all by itself.
They've made something that you think is a pickup truck, but it isn't. Because if you call this a pickup truck, you will be laughed off the planet. There isn't a serious pickup truck owner that will consider a Maverick. But everybody is bored with SUVs and CUVs. There's got to be a new category, and there is, but it's old news.
You've taken an SUV platform with front-wheel drive architecture and you've turned it into a trucklet, a truck. The other big surprise in this market segment is that Hyundai comes from out of nowhere and just goes, let's make one of those, which doesn't make any sense for them at all. But they're not alone, because before this came the Honda Ridgeline, which Honda has been selling as an almost truck for a while. All of these are essentially just a CUV with a truck bed. Take off the hatch, give it a bed, call it a truck. Think about the days of the El Camino, even though it's not.
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
TV, web, and podcast. This is Everyday Driver. Now, the Maverick is built on Ford's C2 platform. This is a platform designed for cars and SUVs. The Escape and the Ford Bronco Sport are also built on the same chassis.
This is the cheapest vehicle Ford offers right now. Just starting price alone, this is under 20 grand, and the Escape, which this shares a chassis with, starts above this. So here's Ford with a truck unlike any other truck they make, because it does draw on their truck thinking, but it's front-wheel drive and hybrid with a low towing capacity.
These start at right around $20,000. This Maverick is the XLT version, so it's right in the middle. It's right about $27,000, almost $28,000.
Like the Santa Cruz, this comes in lots of flavors. We have close to the base version of this Maverick. We would have loved to have had the fully loaded one, so it was spec for spec with the Santa Cruz. But this really shows you how a lot of people will buy this.
If you look at the styling of the Maverick, it's not groundbreaking. This comes in one flavor, and this is Ford's current design theme, which feels fresh because it isn't so overdone. All the surfaces are very clean and simple. They're all very relatable. It's a rectangle with very radiused edges everywhere you look.
Ford does want you to know this is a truck. They've created things for you to have an upper tier that allows you to get a 4x8 sheet of plywood in it. And in the marketing materials, it said, this will carry 37 bags of 40-pound mulch. Is that how we judge a pickup? Is it just bags of mulch? Or is it somebody with a standard measurement for mulch bags? The bed of this truck actually will handle a full-size mountain bike easily. I'm not sure if you could get more than one back there, but you certainly could take your bike somewhere. This is an actual usable pickup bed and an actual usable truck.
When you climb into the Maverick interior for the very first time, the best way I can describe it is as if you climbed into a fishing tackle box. Look around, it's all plasticky and bright colors and interesting shapes and cubby holes everywhere. That sort of boat thinking, a place for everything, has driven Ford to make something that is incredibly useful. But if it were just black plastic or gray plastic everywhere, it wouldn't be quite as interesting.
There's a lot of little shapes in here as if specific items were designed to sit specific places, but without Ford telling us, here's what goes here, you just look at the shapes and go, what am I supposed to use that for? Like to the right of the screen here, this hole fits nothing. Now, there are a lot of cubbies. They've done a good job of creating lots of options for you in here. They're very excited about the fact you can get a full, tall water bottle in these door pockets.
There's an adjective that kind of rhymes with Ute, and it's the word cute. Cute is something you should never call a man's vehicle, ever. And now I'm driving a cute Ute. It's okay, I'll just go ahead and show myself out. It's just fine, you just enjoy the interior while I'm gone. Hey, look!
The front seats do not have enough support. They don't have enough thigh support. They don't have enough lumbar support. They feel a little bit too small and not supportive enough. In the back, this has an incredibly abrupt back seat with an overly vertical backrest. You have more legroom than you do in the Santa Cruz by a tiny amount because they've carved out the back of the driver's seat. Because this is the hybrid, the gauges are a little bit odd. You have your regen gauge and you have your power gauge. There's no RPM available in this. You can get all the way up to 100% power. If you're lucky, This has a key to turn on a hybrid. So what's bizarre is you can sometimes turn the key and everything comes to life with no sound. Somehow I'm used to that with pressing a button. I'm not used to that with turning a key.
Well, this is the Hyundai Santa Cruz, based on a Hyundai Tucson, and it's the other player in the Ute market. But this looks unlike anything else in the Hyundai portfolio.
This is only a 4-foot long bed, and it has underbed storage, but it's really about a third as deep as the one in the Ridgeline. It's like Hyundai looked at the Ridgeline, which does a lot of things really well, and made the 3/4 scale version that's more fun to drive and better to look at.
It's very modern and clean, and then you look at the side profile. The rake of the A-pillars is very car-like, and the tilt of the C-pillars is very kind of truck-like, and then you get a 4-foot bed with a tonneau cover. It's mostly useful. You can get a bike back there, kind of. Be careful with the size, but this is just the balance between having a little bit more luxurious feel and some kind of usefulness. I'm intrigued by Hyundai's stylistic themes here, where they've got flat surfaces intersecting in something that looks really beautiful and fresh and clean. That's continued in the interior here as well, and you'll see that this is pretty much a carbon copy of a Tucson interior.
The interior here is in stark contrast to the Ford. This at least feels luxurious. You see where the money went. Now, keep in mind that the Santa Cruz is available in lesser trims. It starts at about $24,000, almost half what this truck is. If you get the lesser versions, you don't have as nice a screen here and you gain some buttons and knobs back. There's nothing wrong with buttons and knobs, by the way. But the design and the materials are a class, maybe 2 classes above what you can get in the Maverick, even if you spec the Maverick out to be a nicer truck. On one level, the Santa Cruz is too expensive at 40 grand until you sit inside and realize this feels like something about 40 grand.
With both of these, though, the seating position is key. You're sitting a lot taller here in the Santa Cruz, but I do like the length between the steering wheel, the controls, and the adjustability to be able to do so.
The seats in here are better than they are in the Maverick, in spite of the fact that none of these, including the Ridgeline, have really usable back seats.
Everyday Driver is brought to you by Covercraft. Use the code EVERYDAY22 for 10% off your order.
The Maverick, in its base form, is available with a 2.5-liter hybrid drivetrain in front-wheel drive only. And you might think, to properly compare this to the Santa Cruz, this has to have the all-wheel drive with the 2-liter engine and the towing capability to tow up to 4,000 pounds to compete. MaverickTruckClub.com, and as of this filming right now, based on the amount of orders that people have shared with that forum, 62% of the orders are ordered with the 2.5-liter hybrid drivetrain, and 72% of the orders do not include 4x4. So that means this trim level is far more popular in front-wheel drive configuration, which means it isn't a pickup truck because people aren't thinking like a truck. They don't want a truck, but they kind of want what the truck things can do.
The big selling point for this base model with the hybrid motor is the miles per gallon. This gets about 37 plus miles per gallon, will go 500 miles on a tank of gas. This 2.5-liter hybrid benefits massively from having an electric motor to assist. It only has 191 horsepower, 155 pound-feet of torque, which is not very much for something that weighs about 3,700 pounds. However, because it's a hybrid, it has electric assist, which is instant torque, and that does give you enough power to feel like it's worthwhile. This hybrid CVT version can only tow 2,000 pounds, but if you get the all-wheel drive, EcoBoost, turbo, all the goodies, it'll only tow 4. Most small pickups can out-tow this in any configuration. But we're still talking front-wheel drive architecture and a CVT, where you can go into sport mode, you can go into L, which isn't really low range here, but it's never fast, and it isn't fun at all.
And you know what? The acceleration of this isn't terrible. It's not fast, but works for how most people drive. It feels like an underpowered electric vehicle.
What Ford has made here is a commute truck. They've made a hybrid commute device that is in a vague truck shape. The only body style the Prius doesn't come in is pickup truck. Ford has solved it.
All right, full acceleration. It's pretty loud. Can we get to 100% power? Yes, 100%. I like that. I feel like I'm using all my vehicle.
Like the Maverick, this Hyundai is available with a small, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder and a little bit less than 200 horsepower. This Santa Cruz has the 2.5-liter turbo, which means 275 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque.
Another great part is that if you buy the turbocharged model, you get a dual clutch. And that transforms this. Because here you've got sport mode, slide the lever over and suddenly the paddles bring this thing to life.
Here's Hyundai with actually a pretty good 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, but they're putting it on the upper-level trim that will tow 5,000 pounds. I really wonder about the longevity of this 8-speed dual-clutch in a towing situation, but in a driving situation, it's wonderful.
There is sporting character here. It's not just a light on the dash. The way this truck Ute thing moves is so surprising, you're going to shock yourself looking at the speedometer.
Depending on the way you spec this or the Maverick, they're kind of right on top of each other. 0 to 60 in this Santa Cruz with the turbo is about 6 seconds, but it is in the Maverick with the turbo as well.
That is quick. For a truck that weighs 500 pounds more than the Maverick, that's impressive. This thing moves. But again, you can buy the Santa Cruz in front-wheel drive, non-turbo form as well. You can keep the price down because this one is $41,500. It's pretty expensive.
Gas mileage here is in the high 20s. Of course, you go with the hybrid Maverick and you're almost 40. Hyundai has thought about the fact that you've got a dual clutch and a car that can move power around, and so they do send more power to the rear to try to help this trucklet be more fun to drive, and it does succeed.
Everyday Driver is brought to you by Griot's Garage. Use the code EDRIVER for 10% off your order.
The entire feeling of this truck when you turn into a corner is inconclusive. You're not feeling a thing. The truck turns, you don't feel any bit of the road. It's vague, there's no information whatsoever. But you gave up all your rights to a good handling vehicle. You're gaining the lifestyle. You're gaining a new outlook. You might even try a sport you've never tried before just by owning a Maverick or the Santa Cruz.
This doesn't have nearly as good a ride as the Santa Cruz, and it doesn't handle as well as the Santa Cruz. There's much more body roll, and it feels a lot softer. Now, when you get to the upper level trims of the Maverick, it does have a better rear suspension, and it can tow more. And if you load out a Maverick, guess what? It's almost 40 grand. It's the same cost as the Santa Cruz. When I drive this, especially when I drive it quickly, I'm just struck by the fact that this is just an average front-wheel drive platform. You can feel it get tugged by the drivetrain, but that's not really information, it's just corruption.
The way this turns in and accelerates the Ute makes it feel exactly like the power delivery of an electric vehicle. I think that will resonate with people. And then, of course, you'll hear the gas engine kick on at some point, and it's just noise. Now, speaking of noise, under heavy braking, you're hearing every bit of technology this thing has. It's a lot of strange noises that you probably never heard before. What's most interesting to me about how this drives is how untruck-like it drives, of course. It really is like driving a tall car. There's nothing truck-like about this. And that's probably the best part.
It's not the truck for somebody that really needs what a truck normally does. This is perfect truck for commuting. It's like the Ridgeline in that regard. We took the things that are good about the daily use of a CUV and we gave you a truck platform.
But if you're looking for something that resembles fun in driving, the difference in the Santa Cruz is that it actually is fun.
This feels tiny and chuckable and fun. It feels like a hatchback, except I'm sitting too high and I can't get the seat to go any lower. Don't like that. But it feels like you're driving a hatchback. It doesn't even feel like you're driving an SUV. This has a playful hatchback chuckability about it, but it's a pickup.
It's weird to be this tall, chucking this thing into a turn. I can't believe that there's actually a little bit of steering information here. It's not a lot, but just the merest hint of that makes it fun to drive. When you see a corner, you are unafraid.
People ask us now and then, okay, I want something with some utility, I want something that can do some hauling, I'd maybe like to tow something, but I'd like it to be fun to drive. That can be a difficult list sometimes. So here comes Hyundai with a CUV chassis that's fairly average, and they turn it into a pretty entertaining and actually kind of fun looking little pickup.
There's also the great thing about the ride quality in the Hyundai. This is where you want to be for trips. This is the do-it-all. This is just a little bit of a step up in terms of luxury and performance, but driving the Santa Cruz makes me kind of miss the Maverick. There's personality in the Maverick. There's colors and shapes, and it's just got a kind of charm.
This has much better handling and body control than the Maverick does. It's a nicer place to just drive. But it's not as usable as the Maverick, which makes it an odd thing when you consider I went and bought a pickup because I want to put stuff in it. I wish this Santa Cruz was as usable as it is fun.
I could see owning one of these because it's so useful. And because every time you get in a Ute, you think, what else should I be doing? What new hobby could I pick up? Every Maverick owner will feel like they've discovered something the rest of us have not.
This is back to basic pickups. It's transportation with the modern stuff you need, but it is simple and it is cheap. Ford has made the more usable truck between this and the Santa Cruz. In fact, I would say it's more interesting than the Honda Ridgeline, which is kind of a snooze to look at and to drive.
I'm such a fan of both for different reasons. Now we've got different Ute classes. Oh, Subaru, where art thou? You've got the kind of chunky styling that could easily support a brand new Brat.
Because this is a Brat, except it's the luxury Brat. They've built the perfect Instagram vehicle for you to sit by the fire with your mug and your beanie and the guitar in the background and the kayak sitting on the rack. This is a Hollywood truck. It's not really a truck. It just looks fantastic and it plays one on TV. Think about it this way, at least these aren't CUVs. They're not SUVs. It's not 5-seat SUVs again today.
That's true, but I don't know who ordered these. I don't remember any enthusiast standing around and saying, you know what's next? Utes. That's what we need. There was some focus group somewhere that we missed, but nevertheless, here they are. The rest of the world is sort of ahead of North America in really accepting these, but here they finally are. We've got two choices. The first one appears that you could pick up plumbing supplies and a gallon of paint along with a Maverick from Home Depot. The second one is pretty much for indoor people who are trying the great outdoors for the very first time.
I wish you were wrong. You're not wrong. The Santa Cruz, I hate to say this, it is a lifestyle vehicle. I live in the city. You know what I like to do? I'd like to do something dirty. Let's go outside. I need a vehicle for that. But you know what? It needs to be classy and it needs to be really nice and it doesn't really need to tow anything or haul anything or Santa Cruz is perfect for that. But the thing about the Santa Cruz is I actually love to drive it. It has
right.
no business driving as well as it does. It drives incredibly well, and for that reason, I'm so drawn to it.
Yeah.
But then I consider the price at 40 grand, and I think about the fact these are supposed to kind of be pickups, and the Santa Cruz kind of isn't, because the bed's so tiny.
Yeah.
And then I struggle and I realize that Ford knows trucks and Ford does trucks, and then I lean Maverick.
It almost depends on your mood. It depends on what activity you want. So here's what you need to do. Choose your activity first, then your Ute. This Ute drives solid. The Maverick is well built. You can tell that truck people invented this, that they thought through what are people going to buy next? What are they going to want? It's more than just a commute SUV. It's more than just take the kids and the family and the dog.
You got something you can commute in, get great miles per gallon, get huge range out of it. It wasn't all that expensive. I've got places for all of my stuff. And you know what, this weekend, let's go on an adventure. And in that way, this is a success. In fact, I think it's a home run.
I am amazed. I never thought that I'd like the Santa Cruz as much as I do. And it does come down to styling and materials. Who are you? Because you know how cars and trucks and Utes are an expression of your personality. It's almost like it's better magnified and represented in a Ute than anything else.
So you want to be up here in the roughly $40,000 version of the Santa Cruz, but at that point you're competing with things like really usable fast hatchbacks, or if you want truck usability, you're at the bottom level of actual trucks like the Tacoma and the Frontier. So you got a fun hatchback with a pickup bed. It's confusing. I'm glad it exists. I like it a lot. I'm not sure who it's for.